Ooh, spooky month. So today, guys, we are kicking off October with our monster theme team month, first week team. That's what we're calling them. So we wanted to show off a fun monster team that we thought would be fun to play or just competitively viable. And we're starting off with my favorite team recently, a very, very fun giant monster team. As you can see, we have 4 2x2 colossal goon heads and these 3 little goblin guys, 2 different mole man and a core who's a moloid. So he works with the mole man theme, but also he's just good. So, we're running it. So this team is very highly synergistic, and I'll be running through that as we get deeper into the pieces. But there's a lot of moving parts that make this team crazy. I'm really enjoying this team. This is my favorite team that I have built in a long time, and I'm very excited to show it to you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting with our mole man here, the special LE piece from the Fantastic Four set. He's got a couple traits. The first one is stealth and phasing teleport. When he uses phasing teleport, he can generate a hindering terrain marker in the square he began and ended his movement in. So that hindering terrain will help him with his stealth. When he phases away, he just leaves a hindering terrain marker, which can be useful, but also he generates a hindering terrain marker where he ends and he has stealth, so now he can't be shot, which is nice. He also has other friendly characters with the monster keyword have improved movement hindering, which is an old text. This doesn't mean anything in the modern game. And free move 1 square. This is the reason we're playing him. That and he has leadership. But this is the reason we're playing him. The ability to have any of your monsters have free move 1 square is nuts. And we're abusing it in this team even harder than normal. Next up, he's got a special attack ability. He can incapacitate. He can also incapacitate as free, but only to target a character adjacent to 2 or more characters. And when we have these big guys, we're actually able to line that up pretty consistently. They do have to be like next to, not just within giant's reach, but that's super easy when we've got 4 squares that we can be adjacent to, and a Colossal Retaliator, and the free movement, and a bunch of stuff. A lot of the synergy for this team will get out of hand the more deeper we go in. Just remember that this is always viable. It's incapacitate as free. He's only got a range of 4, which is not great, admittedly, but we take what we can get. Looking at the back of his card to look at the rest of his dial, he goes from leadership to probability control. We've got a mastermind that goes into super senses, so if he is next to anybody we might want to have take some damage for us, with being some of our slightly more tankier guys or somebody who has a stop click, then we can do that if we really need to. He's also got plasticity, and remember he has phasing teleport with the plasticity, so he can break away for free. He does have the underworld keyword, which means that he can carry friendlies that are monsters that share a keyword. You can't carry giants. You can't carry people who are bigger than you, so he has to only carry our other mole man or our core. But since he is the highest point of these 2 figures, he can carry both of them, because the underworld team ability says you can carry anybody who shares a keyword or 2 characters if they're both less points than you. The mole man is 40 and core is only 25. So mole man can carry both of them if we need to, which is very important. There's a lot of figures on this team. There's 7 figures here. We have movement. Not only the free movement, we can move him up, then we can free move, we can move him up, then everybody can free move as well. There's a lot going on with this team. Next up, to pair with that free movement, we're gonna go into Green Dragon Puff here. This is our Green Dragon in the back here. He has a bunch of different dials, but we're playing him at the 75 point line. So he starts with this yellow line here. So he's got a special movement power only on his top click, which is useful. And then he's got this special damage power at the back end, which is also semi-useful. So going over him, he's got traded Force Blast. So that's nice just for some repositioning of your opponent's team. But whenever Green Dragon Puff moves 1 or more times during an action, after resolutions, she can use Force Blast at no cost. So when she moves up, she can Force Blast you. And then Mole Man can give her the free move, so she moves at you and Force Blasts you. So she has a 10 movement, and this is traded. So they can't really outwit it. You just run behind them, kick them towards your team, then run after them, kick them towards your team. Also, she has sidestep in the movement ability. And so you can run behind them, kick them 3 squares, then sidestep at them, kick them 3 squares, then mole man free move and kick them 3 squares. So you move your opponent's piece 9 squares toward you, which is very funny. You just a single target one of their guys and just annihilate them into your entire kill box. But there's more to this ability. As a free action, you can destroy an adjacent piece of blocking terrain. So I do like to run this team on maps that have a lot of blocking terrain to pick up with this ability, because it's a key part of the team. And if you do, you generate and hold a light object, then make a ranged object attack. Green Dragon Puff may activate this twice per turn. So this is a free action. So you can pick up a building, throw it at somebody, then sidestep a little bit to a new building to throw it at somebody, do the free move for more repositioning. It is very, very powerful. Also, this is 2 free attacks. So this will come up in a little bit. You run behind them, then you sidestep at them, you kick them, you move, you kick them, you're standing next to 2 blocking, you throw 2 buildings at them, which is very funny. You're making 2 attacks, which if they get damaged, Wendigo comes in, and if you miss, Mojo comes in. This whole team works together. I'm gonna keep saying that, but it's really true. This whole team, every piece here has a part to play. Then the special damage ability is actually not very good generally. She has Green Dragon Puff has Tiny instead of Colossal and can't use her trait. So you can't do the kicking around anymore. But this is mostly like a turn 1 thing that you're gonna wanna try and set up. You can move her up on your first turn, and then your opponent moves up a little bit, and then you run her behind them and just kick them towards you and kill them. Then honestly, she probably dies. That's just how it is. But you've annihilated at least one of their characters, hopefully their carry, and force them out of position even if you haven't killed them. Then, going on to the Mojo. Again, Mojo is one of those characters with a very long dial, and we are playing him at 75 points, which is this yellow starting line. So he, again, only has this special movement power on his first click, and then sidestep all the way down with significantly lower movement, but this movement literally never matters. Perplex the whole way, decent defenses, good attacks, and into a steel energy at the end. So if he makes some melee attacks with his extra giant reach, he can heal up a little bit to get back to that penetrating, as well as a nice telekinesis piece. Since he is giant, he can see over almost all lines of fire, especially if you're outdoor, literally all of them, and he can telekinesis pieces all around the place. Keep in mind that you cannot telekinesis these 2x2 figures. So this is mostly going to be for moving your moloids and your core into position, or if your opponent has any items, you can take their items away from them, basically. There's some weird stuff that you can do with that on turn 1 if you're lucky. It's not super viable, but technically it works. Yeah. So then going into his actual traits here, we've got traded behind the scenes. Mojo can't be targeted by opposing characters 5 or more squares away. So they have to be within 4 squares to target him, not just with attacks, but also with perplexes and probability controls and outwits and anything like that. They cannot target him with anything unless they are 4 squares or closer. So keep him in the back line. This reads, I am a ranged attacker. And with his 7 range and the penetrating psychic blast and the sidestep, this tracks with how you want to play him. Then, more action. Ratings are dropping. Whenever a character misses all targets of their attack, give Mojo a board token. As a free action, you can remove 2 board tokens and either place Mojo anywhere on the map or make an attack. Both of these are crazy good effects. So, what's often going to happen is your Green Dragon Puff's going to run behind them. You're going to force blast them towards you. You're going to sidestep at them. You're going to force blast them towards you. You're going to free move. You're going to force blast them towards you. You're going to be next to 2 blocking terrains. You're going to pick up those buildings and you're going to chuck them at your opponent. If you miss both attacks, congratulations. You have missed all targets of their attack. Mojo gets a board token. You miss the second one, Mojo gets another board token. Then you can remove both board tokens and Mojo can just make an attack. Keep in mind, Mojo will also be up in there. He can move 8 squares, then do his sidestep, and then make an attack against them. So even if you miss with these attacks, you're still hitting them for free. And if you hit with those attacks, they take damage, and they'll get wounded tokens from Wendigo, who we'll get into in just a minute. Then the special movement ability is Sidestep, and whenever an opposing character uses Sidestep, after resolutions, Mojo may move up to 2 squares. So if he's 4 squares away from somebody who has Sidestep, if they Sidestep at him, he just sidesteps back. And now they can't hit him anymore. He's still behind the scenes. He's hiding. Also allows you to reposition during your opponent's turn. If you move Mojo up and then they sidestep forward, you can sidestep forward or sidestep to the side to get some side angles. The just free movement on this figure is very nice. Plus, keep in mind, we're all monsters here. Mole Man is given the free movement as well. So we have a lot of things going on here. Looking at the rest of his dial again, when he's making those attacks, he'll almost always be hitting on a 12 because you're going to probably perplex up that attack. He's sitting in the back line, so he's hard to make attacks against unless they're running at him. And even if they do, they're still hitting 18s on those top walls with some reducers, which is not awful. If they sidestep at him to try and get in range, he can sidestep away, and then he can teleport anywhere on the map. Also, this board token ability is whenever any character misses all targets of their attacks, yours and your opponent's. Eventually, Mojo will have like 25 board tokens on him. I'm not joking. He gets so many. But since this is a free action, you can only do it once per turn. So keep that in mind. You do not get to make a million attacks with Mojo. Unfortunately, that would make this team actually fucking busted. But moving on from Mojo, what happens, per se, if you hit with your attacks from the Green Dragon Puff? This is where Wendigo comes in. So, for those who are not familiar with Wendigo, I'm sorry for what I'm about to introduce you to. This is a crazy broken piece. He has a long dial, but we play him at the 15 points right here because we don't need anything else. 15 points is perfectly fine. He's actually going to be able to access the rest of this dial, which is even more gross. So he has traded sidestep, but only if a character has a wounded token. How do we get wounded tokens? Well, when an opposing character takes damage from an attack, give that character a wounded token if they don't have one. When a character heals, remove their wounded token. That's fine. This rarely comes up. Technically it happens, but this rarely comes up. So he can sidestep, but only if somebody's wounded. Well, how do we get them wounded? Well, we throw 2 buildings at them. And if we hit, now they're wounded. Wendigo can sidestep. He can also do his free move with Mole Man. And if we miss, Mojo shoots them. Then Mojo's going to hit them with a 12 attack, so now they're wounded anyway. So it doesn't matter. They're always wounded. Then he also has Colossal Stamina, which all of them have Colossal Stamina, and Steel Energy. When Wendigo uses Steel Energy, he may heal past his starting line. Okay, I mean, that's fine, right? He just has traded healing forever, right? The special movement power that he starts with is Charge Flurry. When Wendigo ends his movement after resolutions, he may make a close attack, but only to target a character with a wounded token. This is not just the movement from Charge. This is any time he ends any movement. And we give him a lot of movements in this team. So, first you're going to throw 2 buildings at them. Say you miss. Mojo's going to then shoot them. Now they're wounded. Then he's going to charge in, range of 4, because he's got the 8 movement, and we've carried him up with Mole Mans, so we've got him in there. Then he's going to flurry. He's going to hit you twice. And then, since he's ended his movements, he's going to hit you. Now that since you're wounded, he's going to hit you again. And then he can sidestep. So you can just sidestep back in place. And then he's going to hit you again because he ended his movement. And then he's going to Mole Man, free move. And then he ended his movement, so he's going to hit you again. This entire time, any attacks that you're missing, Mojo's getting bored, so he gets all those tokens back. You can make 5 attacks in 1 turn with Wendigo on 1 action. It is insane. You charge up, you flurry, that's 2 attacks. You ended your movement, that's another attack. You sidestep, that's another attack. You free Mole Man move, that's a 5th attack. Crazy shit. Also, every time you hit, you're Steel Energying. You're healing up past your starting line to Blades, Claws, Fangs, Exploit Weakness, Super Strength. You get the ability back over here. You get better defenses. If you make it past this yellow line, he's basically unkillable. Let's be honest. They have to dedicate so many resources to killing this piece that is worth 15 points. Even if they do kill him, they score 15 points. It's nuts. So we've talked a little bit about this Mole Man here up in the front. So what actually does he do? So this is the Legacy Mole Man. I know that this figure on its non-Legacy version is slightly better in certain teams. In this team, we want the Legacy version. 1, because he's less points, but also because his ability is actually very relevant for our team specifically. So he has traded Passenger 6, but only to carry characters with the monster keyword regardless of size. So he can carry the whole team. It's a little awkward with like getting out of the starting gates because these guys take up a lot of room, so you can't do it like literally turn 1, but with the free move that we get from Mole Man, you can position everybody, and the sidestep from this guy, you can position everybody so that Mole Man can actually carry the whole team on the way out. So when Mole Man carries, he has an 8 move with the phasing teleport because he goes underground. So they can't stop you with indoor, with blocking, with elevation, with anything. And then this Mole Man will give this Mole Man the free move so that he can free move, still carrying everybody. And then everybody will get a free move to kind of spread out and get into position that they want to. If Mojo has board tokens, he can teleport anywhere he wants. If Wendigo sees somebody wounded, he can just run at them and kill them because he can sidestep at them, hit them, and then free move and hit them again. Green Dragon Puff can move up next to some blocking and just start throwing buildings. Proteus, we'll get to Proteus. Proteus can make buildings for Green Dragon Puff to throw. And that's just the first ability. He has this special attack ability as well. Mole Man has a range of 6 and double targets. That's always. So that will affect his outwits or his any theme props you want to use. Now, granted, they have minimum range 6 anyways, but the dual targeting is nice. He has Incapacitate, and when he uses it, after resolutions, he deals 1 penetrating damage to each hit character that was given an action token. This is not part of an attack. This is just damage dealt. So I like to use this to deal with Mystic pieces, especially if they don't have Invincible, because then you can actually deal the damage to them. So you hit them with the Incapacitate, you give them the action token, and then you deal the damage. Incapacitate is part of the attack. He does not deal the damage with that, but he does deal the damage with the penetrating damage. So this can bypass Mystics, and it can bypass a bunch of other stuff that say when this character is damaged by an attack. This is not damage from an attack. This is very important distinction. Looking at the back of his dial, he starts with Outwit, so he's just all utility. If you want, you can get him in with that Incapacitate to get him in range with the range 6. Keep in mind, he does not have range 0. And then he goes to Stealth, back on the phasing, has that special ability the entire time. He only has a 9 attack, so it's kind of a Hail Mary, I'm not going to lie. But he's got the Super Senses with the Outwit. This is our major Outwitter for the team, and so being able to get him into position to get an Outwit, and then maybe he swings back or swings forward to get the Outwit, and then phase way away, carrying a bunch of people away. Very, very nice. This ability to carry anybody and everybody on the team can get you out of very sticky situations that you do not want to be in. You can make a bunch of attacks with all your guys, move Mole Man up, and then run everybody away. And now you're safe. You're just out of there. There's nothing they can do about it. Next up, we're going to save the best for last. We're going to go to Core. Core is still very good. Don't get me wrong. But he's honestly just kind of like point filler at this point, realistically. But let's see what he does. He's still relevant for the team. So he's still a monster. And traded, Core starts the game with a Turg token. As a free action, you can remove a Turg token to regenerate a Turg bystander. And this is Turg. He's also got stealth and willpower, so he's always moving. Although, realistically, he's just kind of like your probs that runs around. He's got sidekick tag, but we don't really mess with that in this team. Turg has, as traded, I'm back. Free, if Turg wasn't generated this turn and is adjacent to Core, remove him from the map and give Core a Turg token, so he jumps back onto Core, right? The little head that he's holding, little floating head, right? The special movement power here is hypersonic speed. When Turg uses it, he has ignores characters, and after resolutions, deal 1 damage to an opposing character he moved through during the action. So, we can hypersonic speed up to somebody, move through them, and then attack them. Granted, we're only at 9 for 1 damage, so maybe we do some damage. And then we do our free movement away from Mole Man, back away from them, so they can't hit us anymore. Especially if they're based next to one of our big guys, which is easy to do because they're all big, then they can't run at Turg. Then also, Turg is tiny, so he's a little harder to shoot from range. He goes to an 18 with that defense because he gets a +1 because he's tiny if he's being shot at. This is mostly just I'm going to carry everybody in with one of the Mole Mans with the Core, and then I'm going to move him 1 square forward, then I'm going to generate Turg, and then I'm going to move hypersonic 9 squares. So, unfortunately, Turg is not a monster, so he does not get the Mole Man extra movement, but also, realistically, he doesn't kind of need it. So, what you can do with this team is Mole Man can carry up Core, either Mole Man can carry up Core, then they can move 1 square with this Mole Man ability, dropping Core off on the other side of them, then Core can move 1 square, then you can generate Turg, then Turg flies 9 squares at them. So, if you're starting on your second line here, there is 20 squares between your starting line and your opponent's starting line. You move 9 squares with this Mole Man, then a 10th square, then Core moves an 11th square, then you generate Turg and he moves 9 squares. That's 20 squares. So you can get to them turn 1 if they just sit there at you, right? Or if you're going second, you can hit them with Turg. Now, granted, Turg is 9 attack for 1 damage, so you know, he's not doing much. But you're tying him up, you're putting a guy in front of them, they can't ignore him. Because if they do ignore him, he's just going to hit them and then run back to Core. Because you can fly through somebody and fly all the way back to Core. Core will move up to pick him up, and he jumps back on, and now he's gone, right? And then next turn, you can just generate him again, right? Crazy good. Now, the best for last, we've got Proteus, our Colossal Retaliator, the guy that brings everything on the team together. You need to get to your opponent, we've got a Colossal Retaliator. You need to make some blocking terrain, we've got a Proteus. So now, let's get into it. Traded, Barrier, Shape Change, and Smoke Cloud. So Shape Change, he's hard to hit. That's good, because he's only got 1 click of life. He doesn't heal up past the starting click like Wendigo, so we need some defenses in there. Then once per turn, Proteus can use Barrier as free or Smoke Cloud as free, but only to generate 2 markers. Other characters within 3 squares can't use improved abilities. So we turn off any improved abilities that our opponents are trying to use, whether it's improved movement or improved targeting, which is nice. Also, if our opponent wins map roll, we do have 7 figures here. I like a +7 to our map roll, generally gets you map roll from what I've found. But if they don't get map roll, or if you're just out of position with Green Dragon Puff, Proteus can use Barrier as free to generate the 2 blocking terrain that Green Dragon Puff is then going to huck at them. And then he leaves hindering behind that Mole Man or Core can hide in, because they're hindering now, and these guys have stealth. He has traded stealth, he just has it showing, right? This movement ability does not show up on the low click that we play him at, and he doesn't have a way to heal past the starting line. But realistically, this ability is like meh at best. I'm not gonna lie, it's not great. Then the stop click here, he has a stop click. He just says you can't attack smaller characters except via Colossal Retaliator. But look at the Colossal Retaliator. As a free action, if no friendly characters has been placed this turn, so placing is if you carry somebody. If you just move on your own, that doesn't consider placing. But generally, you're just gonna want to start with this, I'm not gonna lie. Unless you're next to Green Dragon Puff, then you're gonna want to generate the 2 barriers, then jump at them. Because he can choose any opposing character that attacked Proteus or damaged any friendly character since your last turn. Place Proteus such that he can make a close attack targeting the chosen character, then do so. A hit character gets 2 fear tokens. Even if this power is lost, characters with fear tokens must roll a d6 when making an attack, and negatively modify their attack value by half the result, then remove 1 fear token. So he hits them, he does some damage, and then they get fear tokens. So he can deal some damage with Wendigo. If he misses, Mojo gets bored and can make attacks. But if he does hit them with fear tokens, now it's much harder for them to hit you. This is good because this is not a defensive team. This is an all-in aggro team. You are going to make 15 attacks a turn and you're going to kill your opponent or die trying. And this gives you a little bit of defensibility that the team honestly needs. So this is Proteus. He ties the team together. He can generate blocking for your Green Dragon Pup. He's a free attack to keep going with Mojo or Wendigo, and he gives the team some defensiveness on their main killer. Proteus just gives them the fear tokens, and then there's hard to hit with. So that is this monster team. This team is so much fun to play because everybody does everything always. Mole Man can carry the other Mole Man or the Core. Core summons Turg that flies at them. Mole Man can carry everybody and then has the funny Incapacitate with an Outwit. Green Dragon Puff flies behind them, Force Blasts them to 3 squares. Green Dragon Puff flies behind them, Force Blast them 3 squares, then Sidestep at them, Force Blast them 3 more squares, then Free Move, Force Blast them 3 more squares. Then Proteus generates 2 blocking, and then Green Dragon Puff throws 2 buildings at them. Then, if you miss, Mojo gets bored and teleports behind them and shoots them. And then when they get hit, Wendigo gives them a wounded token. Then Wendigo charges at them, flurries at them, hits them twice, then does another attack, then sidesteps at them, then hits them again, then free moves, then hits them again, and then they're dead. Yeah, this team is crazy. If you miss any of these attacks with Wendigo, Mojo gets bored and Steve keeps Laser Blast or teleports across the map. This team is so much fun. It does so many things. All your pieces are always moving, and it is so much fun to play this highly synergistic team. I know there's other teams out there. This is not like the only high synergy team in the game, but this team is so much fun, and I have been having so much fun playing this team, and I highly recommend you guys check it out. Realistically, the only actually expensive piece here is this Wendigo. Unfortunately, he is $50 on the market right now as I'm recording this video, but if you can find yourself a Dark Phoenix Saga brick, he is only a rare. I have opened a brick, and I got a Wendigo. Jordan has opened a brick, and he got a Wendigo. I don't want to say that you're always going to go with a Wendigo out of your Dark Phoenix Saga brick, but from my experience, it's 2 out of 2. Also, this Wendigo piece is just crazy. Realistically, everybody should own a Wendigo. This piece is nuts. These guys are all supporting along with the Wendigo game plan, as well as bringing their own flavors to help and support him and keep the pressure going. As always, is a welcome addition to the team. I highly recommend this team if you're able to get the pieces and check it out for yourself to see exactly how much fun this team is. And stay tuned for this month. We're going to be releasing a new monster team every week. So stay tuned to the channel for some more monster goodness throughout the month. And with that, we'll see you guys next week.